Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom. With Jay Wise, I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thank you for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all our listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube, with each show segment available. Head on over and you like what you hear, we would appreciate your subscription. We're without drink tonight, so it's just you and me, man. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Busy day, busier than normal. But glad we get into the best part of my day. No drink tonight, but we'll make it happen. It's the beard and it's the wisdom. Let's go do it.
Let's do it, man. In episode 83, Jamal Adams exits the Big Apple, Zion sort of returns, and the Lakers and Clippers end their season series in a split. But we begin tonight with the only topic on anyone's mind, which is COVID-19 and how it's affecting sports. With the restarts underway in the MLB and NBA, and the NFL looming large, the leagues are having mixed results. The MLB has taken the biggest hit so far, with 18 of 33 Marlins players testing positive this week after a series in Philly. Other positive tests have put other games in jeopardy as well. Meanwhile, in the NFL, the opt-outs have been pouring in all week, with roughly half the NFL teams seeing at least one player hang up their cleats before 2020 even starts. The Patriots do lead the league with 6 players, but many other big names have stepped out as well. Meanwhile, the NBA, they've had the best luck with their bubble, with no positive results since the arrival of the teams 3 weeks ago. So, Jay, let's go ahead and start with baseball. What's going on with the Marlins, and how is MLB looking to handle this?
Well, you just told us what happened. They're in the middle of an outbreak, quite severe, I might tell you. When over, you come out there with a 30-man roster, and we're up to 18 positive tests. I mean, that's quite significant. And it's I find it interesting how this has all played out. It began with Jorge Alfaro testing positive last Friday, and then we had 3 others test positive on that Sunday. So by that Sunday, you had 4 players positive, and they still elected to play that game, the final game of the 3-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. And then the next day, before they left Philadelphia, we have a total of 11 players, I believe. And it's every single day, it seems like we're adding another player to this list. So it's curious how the number continues to go up each day. I don't know what the Marlins did, but I would have to venture to say whatever protocols and mitigation they have put into place, something has went awry. I think we would expect, and we've seen today now the Cardinals got some cases now, so their series against the Brewers has been postponed as far as I know. We saw the Phillies, they've been fortunate. No players have tested positive to my knowledge at this time, but they had a coach and a clubhouse employee test positive. I believe we got that word yesterday. So they've shut down their ballpark as of right now. But back to the Marlins, something has seriously went awry with their process. I know, and I think it's a big contrast between what the NBA is doing with their bubble system and what Major League Baseball has elected to do as far as having teams play in their home stadiums. And we're seeing how that can be, perhaps that is some of the problem. That I think it's reasonable to assume that that's part of the problem, is having to travel. But I gotta believe that perhaps the Marlins, even though they're not restricted to a bubble, perhaps there need to be some restrictions in place while you're in a certain area, as far as going out to restaurants, other types of activities you're doing away from the baseball field. Because to me, the Marlins by themselves, one outbreak, I don't think kills a season, as devastating as it is to that team. But as we continue to now see other teams faced with this, I don't know, and we've discussed this before, I don't know where the line is for the commissioners of these sports. But at some point, if multiple teams have this problem, we're going to get to a point where the season has to be shut down. And I hope we don't get to that point. I hope we can learn I hope the Marlins can learn whatever they've done wrong. There's got to be something they've done wrong. But whatever those things that they haven't done right, Major League Baseball, this isn't about, dropping a hammer on the Marlins saying, oh, you messed up and you got to pay the price. No, whatever you did, let's learn from it so we can disseminate that information to other teams we can learn from this and have a safer season, because I think it is possible. But I think we got to tighten the screws on some of these mitigation factors, because I don't think if we're absolutely doing all the right things that this would happen. And not only that, listen, again, about 11 players had, as of Monday, I believe, they had 11 players. Tuesday, you have 4 more. Wednesday, you have another player. Thursday, another player. So it's just curious, when you have an outbreak, why is not everyone – it doesn't seem plausible or possible, if this is the news cycle, everyone must not be getting tested at the same regimen. It seems to me if you have an outbreak where you go from 4 to 11 players, everybody's got to get tested immediately. So I'm just curious how the number incrementally goes up each day. And as far as their season, well, they haven't played since that Sunday game. The Major League Baseball canceled all their upcoming games. That's not good. And you wonder, once they get back into a situation where they can play, how are they going to make up these games? I don't know if it's going to be possible for them to make up these games. There's going to be, I guess if you play a week full of double hitters, maybe you do that. I don't know if you want to do that. But then you also have to consider the Marlins have to now go out and make an entirely new roster. Some of the things that this entails, this is a huge undertaking. If you listen to some of the baseball pundits out there, this is not something that is easily rectifiable. So baseball, we got to pay attention to this, and the commissioner and the players, the Baseball and the Players Association, have got to get together and figure out with these teams that are having these series of cases, particularly the Marlins, because this is something that can't happen. You can't have this many players test positive. The season won't survive if we see many more situations like the Marlins are having. It won't survive. And especially if you start seeing, remember, and think about this, the Marlins are a team in my mind, and I know people, some people are trying to make it look, they start out 2-1, so much hope for them. They're the Marlins. Let's not get carried away with this, people. So in that estimation, it's not a huge deal to me because it's the Marlins. But if this happens to the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Astros, some of these big time teams, we're going to be baseball is going to be in a world of hurt, and they're going to have to respond. So, and to transition to what this means for the NFL has chosen not to play in hubs, not to play in bubbles, and it's going to and for baseball and especially football, basketball, in terms of roster sizes, a lot less guys. So in terms of if you pick a facility for a bubble, you're not going to need as robust a facility for the NBA as opposed to Major League Baseball and the NFL. And, oh, by the way, the NBA didn't bring the whole league down to Orlando.
And it wasn't a full season either. They had the playoffs and a slice of a regular season. So.
That's right. Not a full season either. So the NFL's got to be paying attention to this too, because I would surmise they're going to have similar issues as they progress. And as far as Major League Baseball and NFL not choosing to play in bubbles, I'm not gonna hammer them for that, because it's not something I thought of. I'm a big believer in, let's see. I'm not gonna play armchair quarterback and hindsight is 2020. I'm not gonna do that to them. Although if you were on the side of bubbles from the beginning and you think they should play in bubbles, I think that's absolutely something you should look into, and you can take that position. But as far as some of the opt-outs we're seeing, to get specifically to the football field, there's some significant names that we've seen, and I believe we could possibly see more. I think August 3rd is the deadline, but the New England Patriots in particular are getting hammered in this regard, and it's one of those situations where I'm having to rethink my position of the New England Patriots being the AFC East favorites, because think about this: there's some significant contributors that have opted out. Dante Hightower, significant piece of that defense, and you now think about that linebacking core. You lost Jamie Collins and Kyle Van Noy in free agency. So now Dante Hightower isn't going to play. That's your entire linebacking core. That spells trouble to me. Also, Patrick Chung in that secondary. That's a little chink in that armor of that secondary, which is extremely excellent. They're great back there. And then Marcus Cannon, one of your better offensive linemen at right tackle. Three significant losses that, to me, they pretty much offset the acquisition of Cam Newton, which I was so excited about. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm not quite sure why the Patriots are getting hit the hardest by this. and they're not the only team, but the Patriots have been it seems like they're being most hit significantly by these opt-outs. And it's going to be interesting as we continue to move forward to see how other teams are affected.
Yeah, this is definitely the first, kind of the worst case scenario, you would say, maybe for baseball so far, is having one big outbreak. One of the questions we had when we saw these leagues start this back up, and we had the word that sports are coming back, one of the biggest issues we had was, okay, well, one or two guys get it, we can let them off to the side, and that's that. What if a whole team catches it? What if we get this big outbreak in one team, and you have a team that like almost can't even field a team? Because right now, like you said, 18 of the 33 Marlins players, I mean, they got more guys down in Florida at their training camp facilities. They're getting spun up, and you can get people off the waiver wire and free agency and whatever else in your farm systems. But that's replacing more than half your team. That's not something you want to have happen. And we asked the question, well, in that case, do we just cancel the season? What are we going to do? And so far, baseball hasn't. There was some talk, rumblings of it this week, but the owners' meetings came and went. They're not going to do that, at least for now. But as you said, Rob Manfred said today, he told Tony Clark, hey, if you guys don't figure this out pretty quick, we are going to have to shut the season down, because having this kind of look is really bad. And they've already had to delay something like 20 games if you count all the different teams that have had games postponed: the Twins, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Marlins, the Orioles were involved. They had some games scheduled, etc. It creates this chain reaction where you can only backlog so much into your schedule before there's just no more room. They're already looking down the very real possibility that the Marlins won't have a 60-game schedule. Now, the Marlins are the Marlins. It's probably not going to matter. But again, like you said, what if this was the Yankees? What if Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge were out, and all these other big, huge names in baseball were out, and the Yankees had to go fill their roster with just random, core dudes? Like, would it even be the Yankees at this point? Like, would they just be some like farm team of the Yankees? Like, would you even associate them with the New York Yankees? And it quickly becomes a problem of, well, what's even the point if all of our players can't play because there was a big outbreak? As far as the testing goes, there is something to be said about tests being delayed on their return. We had a couple, the whole Brewers Cardinals thing was because a player got tested before a game, but his result didn't come back till the following evening. But like you said, 18 players over the course of 4 or 5 days of this played out, someone dropped the ball somewhere. This wasn't just, oops, all these tests came back in one batch. This was a slow roll through the days, and it sounds like protocol got messed up, or a protocol that's in place isn't functioning and working correctly. So if it can happen to the Marlins, it can happen to other teams as well. So baseball is in a very precarious spot. And I think for right now, if they damage control this, they can survive this. But if this happens, probably 2-3 more teams, that's it. We're going to see this. And the NFL has to be watching this closely. And again, like you said, these teams can't really play. And baseball could have kind of done a hub thing. You had a group of teams in Arizona and Florida and like New York or something. You could have maybe done something. But NFL, 16 weeks games, 18 weeks of total, and then the playoffs, it would have been too much to try to put into an actual hub or have the players in that one position that long. But you already have all these players opting out. And like you said, no bona fide superstars, no high-paid quarterbacks yet. But there's some really good players that are missing. Besides the guys like you said on the Patriots, guys like Damian Williams are out. Eddie Goldman for the Bears. These guys are big losses. They're not players that are going to hard carry you to a Super Bowl by themselves. But hey, if you're Chicago and it's week 9 and your run defense is Swiss cheese all of a sudden, a guy like Eddie Goldman, someone you really wish you had around, and you're not going to have him because this is a hard opt-out. There's no coming back. There's no, well, I changed my mind, it looks better, or what. No, you opt out. You are out the whole season. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You are locked out for the 2020 season. So these guys are not going to be around, and they're going to be replaced by mid to late round draft picks, career backups, and it's going to be tough. And I'll tell you, the NFL is going to really get to hurting if quarterbacks start opting out. Imagine even a mid-tier guy. Imagine Nick Foles or Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not even talking like a Drew Brees or a Lamar Jackson or something. I'm talking about just like a mid-tier quarterback. If a Teddy Bridgewater opts out, I mean, that could change Carolina's entire trajectory. That could, their whole first year they've got there and their new guy, that could wreck everything. And it could have a big implication on a team and their 21 draft and all that from here on out. So far, it looks like the NBA got this right. They've had no COVID positives 3 weeks. Their bubble looks great. It came on last night. they are living the high life, and these other two leagues are already got a lot of question marks. So we'll see if the MLB can recover from this and get the clamps on it, and we'll see if the NFL is going to possibly have to work back on this and maybe rethink some of their policies as we get into the season. It'll be very interesting to see.